Hello, students. You are welcome to mathematics once more. Remember our topic? Fractions. At the initial stage, I told you that fractions is a very wide topic. And we gave them three big families: vulgar fraction, decimal fraction, percentage fraction. We are still on vulgar fraction. We have not gone to those areas. As we go on, let us see what we did last time so that we can know where we stand. Mathematics. Our topic still remains fractions. We want to go through the past work so that you know exactly what you performed. There were only 4 tiny little interesting questions in the assignment given. We take them one by one. Number 1, you had 1½ plus 2 1/3 minus 3 1/4. You see, each of these fractions given there is a mixed fraction. Whole number portion, the proper fraction portion. Whole number, proper fraction. Whole number, proper fraction. We shall treat them like that. The whole numbers first before the proper fractions. And treating them like that, this now becomes 1 plus 2 minus 3. That is for the whole number portion. 1, 2, and 3. We have picked them out. Then we now want to work on the proper fraction portion. What we shall use here is the LCM of the denominators, what we call ACD, least common denominators. And that is 12 there. 12. Then we will allow 2 to divide 6, divide 12 rather, and that will give us 6 times, but this 6 must multiply the 1 on top of the proper fraction. We go to the next proper fraction, 1/3. Then the 3 here will divide 12 and produce a 4, which must obviously multiply the numerator of the 3rd. Then we go to the last one, 1/4. 4 will go to 12, and that will give us 3 times, but it must multiply the numerator of the quarter. Then we start simplifying. At the stage of simplification, we now have 1 plus 2 minus 3. So that goes. No whole number remains in that fraction. So we are now on the proper fraction aspect. The whole numbers are gone. Then there we have 6 times 1, 6, plus 4 times 1, 4, minus 3 times 1, 3. Everything divided by 12. And that is giving us 10 minus 3. And that will give us 7 remaining. And that will give us 7 all over 12. We look at this fraction and ask ourselves, what we have now, is it a stable fraction? Is there anything that we can do to reduce it further? Nothing. Nothing can divide 7 and 12 without a remainder apart from 1. Therefore, that is our final answer. I know most of you got that. So congratulations for that. We shall take the next one, number 2. Number 2, for those of you who are very slow in writing, Samson, remember what we said the other time? Oh, thank you very much. You have finished it. That's very good. So we can clean and go to the next. So the next number, and that next number said 5/1/6 minus 4 2/3, then plus 6/1. So we look at this. And we want to arrange this thing according to the order of board mass. Bracket, of, division, multiplication, addition before subtraction. This number in front has no sign. Because it has no sign, it is assumed to be positive. So attach that positive. Therefore, we have two positives here, this and that. We must bring them together before the negative one steps in. So this now becomes 5 1/6 plus 6 1/12, then minus 4 2/3. As usual, we now consider, because they are all mixed fractions, we now consider the whole number portions first. The whole number portions now, 5 plus 6, after that, minus 4. Then we go to the proper fraction portion. We have 6 in the denominator here, 12 here, and 3 there. We look for the least common denominator for them, and that gives us 12. 6 will now divide 12 and give us 2 times, but it must multiply its numerator. 12 will now go into 12, and that will give us 1, and it must multiply its numerator. Here again, minus. 3 will go there 4 times, but this 4 must multiply the corresponding numerator there. So, we now simplify further. 5 plus 6 will give us 11, take away 4, and that will leave us with 7. We have written the 7 there. Right. We now come to the proper fraction aspect. We now have 2 times 1, 2, 1 times 1, 1, 4 times 2, 8, all over 12. Now this becomes 7 whole number, 3 minus 8, all over 12. You can see in the numerator of the proper fraction we are looking for now, we shall have a negative. But that is contrary to the system. So it means we must bring out something from this 7, which will help us to solve that side. So we write this as 6 plus 1, then 3 take away 8, all over 12. It is this plus 1 that we brought out here that we want to make sure that it enters into the proper fraction side so that we can solve. But that proper fraction side has a denominator 12. Therefore, this 6 here becomes 12 over 12. So we write it like that. This is equal to 6 plus 12 over 12, then plus 3 minus 8 all over 12, which finally simplifies as 6, then 12 plus 3 minus 8 all over 12. That is what we now have. Then 12 plus 3, that is giving us 15. 15 take away 8, that gives us 7. Then finally, what will our answer be? 6 whole numbers there, but the numerator now is 7 when 12 was divided. So that is now what we have. The transformation here is very, very important. That the number which you are moving here, that single number, will be determined by the LCD, least common denominator, of the proper fraction in that expression. If the LCD is 15, it's 15 over 15. If it is 20, 20 over 20. If it is 24, 24 over 24. Then you simplify. That makes the work easy and simplify. That is for number 2. I know that most of you got it, but those who didn't get it, this acts as a correction. All right. Let's move to number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Let's quickly go through so that we can move into the aspect for today. Then the number 3 says 5 multiplied by 2/3. You can see any number, whole number, alone as it stands, can be written as a fraction. Numerator over denominator. So we apply that. If we apply that, this Mr. 5 here becomes 5 divided by 1. If you take 1 and divide 5, it still remains what it is. Just to make sure that it's a fraction, to agree with that definition, numerator over denominator. So that is what that becomes. Then multiplied by 2 thirds. Then looking at it, since this is a fraction, we have to put the numerators down, then put the denominators down, and simplify finally. So what we have here is equivalent to 10 divided by 3. How did I get my 10? 5 times 2, 10. How did I get this 3 here finally? 1 times 3, 3. This is not a good stable fraction. It is an improper fraction. So we change it to a mixed fraction. 3 goes into 10 3 times. And 1 remains. That 1 remaining, remember, we divided by 3. So that is finally what we have there. This is one of the simplest that we are given, which everybody got. So we are pleased that everybody got that. So let's go to the last one, which is number 4. Number 4 is about division. Fraction dividing fraction. So we have 6 divided by 7/8. That's what we are given. I remember that when the lesson or lecture was going on, we talked about reciprocal. And that's exactly what we are going to apply here. The first fraction will remain as it is. It is the second one that is going to do that somersault business. So this is now equal to 5/6 times, then this will have to somersault, 8/7. And we start looking at, are there any things that can cancel out between the numerator and the denominator for the two fractions? Is there any one where? Can 5 divide 7? No way. 5 will not divide 6? No way. 8 will not divide 7? No way. But we now have 8/6. It's possible. It's possible. There's a common factor there. Factor 2 here, 2 divides here 3, 2 divides here 4. Nothing can go again. So we multiply numerators 5 by 4, 20. Denominator 3 by 7, 21. Nothing can divide this again. That is our final solution for number 4. So we are happy that we have done this. All right. Let's go to the main thing for the day. Still on fractions, but now we are on word problems. Word problems. We will be seeing fractions in daily use in selling, buying, construction, and all the rest of them. Fractions involved. But there are certain words that are very, very important. Under the word problems, we must know these words very, very well to our fingertips so that we can apply them. Whenever we see them, we know their meanings, the implications. 1 is sum. 2 is difference. Difference. 3 is product. Product. And 4 is quotient. Whenever we see these words, we have to think about the implication, what they stand for, what is involved in them. Whenever we see this implies addition. It means that we are going to add something somewhere. It calls to our mind, be careful. What you are going to do now, you are going to add. So sum, that is what it gives us. So symbolically, we have that sign, plus. We are going to add. Difference. What appears to our minds immediately is that we are going to subtract. So it involves subtraction, which symbolically is written that way. Then product. That is the answer you get from multiplication. So this implies that we are going to multiply. Multiplication. That is what is involved. multiplication is involved. And that is the sign, the symbol for it. Then quotient. Quotient is the answer you get from division. When you divide something by another, the answer you get is called quotient. So this implies that there is division going on. Division going on, which symbolically is represented by that. Then having known these four things, we can then pick some problems and start seeing how we can apply these things in them. Now, there is one place that causes confusion, and I will rule this out and put it as number 5. If you fail to understand the grammar in the problem, you'll be solving another thing. And I'm going to write it. Divided by. That is number 1. Number 2. Divided into. These are very, very important. They do not mean the same thing. In the first one, it means that the second thing, that thing that comes after by, is the one you use for division. In the second one, divided into, that thing that appears first is what you use in dividing the second one. So these things are very, very important. Divided by and divided into. The two of them involve division, but you can do it and then you miss the step. Let's go through that again. Divided by, the one that comes immediately after that word by is the one you use in dividing. Divided into, the one that comes before into is before into is the one that you use to divide the one that they wrote into in front of it. So we shall see this in the course of our examples. Let us go to the examples proper. Let's go to the examples proper. So that we can apply these things and go through our textbooks. There are plenty examples there. If you practice them and get conversant with them, then you are on the right track. Let's see the question. Number 1. What is the sum of? What is the sum of? Immediately, what word, catching word have we seen there? Sum. Underline it. Underline it. Sum. What did they say about sum? They say that whenever we see that word sum, what are we to do? We are to add. Okay, let us see what they are giving us. They want us to sum. 1 7/12 and 3 5/8. 3 5/8. Only 2 numbers that they are talking about. But certain times it can be long or many. But we're just taking this for example purposes. It means that we are to add 2 things. So we will now translate this. We'll translate this as 1 7/12 plus, because of that sum, 3 5/8. Remember, as usual, this is a mixed fraction. The other one is a mixed fraction. Pick the whole number portions first. Pick them first. Picking them first, I have 1 added on to 3. After that, consider the proper fractions next. But in considering of these proper fractions, we look at the denominators, 12 and 8, and we get the least common denominator. And the least common denominator here is 24. 24. Now, 12, we divide this 24 and produce a 2, which must obviously multiply the 7, the numerator of the first proper fraction. We are adding plus. Now 8, we divide this common denominator to produce a 3. But this 3 must obviously multiply the 5, the numerator of the 5/8. Then we have here 4 whole numbers. Then we want to think about the proper fractions now. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 3 times 5 is 15. So this gives us 4 whole number, 29 all over 24. You might say that you have finished. Yes, I have finished everything. The whole number is there and the fractions are there. But the fraction you are having there is an improper fraction. Therefore, this is not a mixed fraction. It's wrong. Remember the first lesson? We talked about it. So we have to reduce this improper fraction to see whether it has a whole number portion inside it hidden. So that particular thing there gives us, we can then translate upwards there. So this gives us 4 plus 1 whole number, 5 over 24. So the first number there is 4. It has no fraction attached to it. Second number there is 1 whole number, 5 over 5 24ths. So we add the 4 and the 1 to produce a 5. And the final proper fraction is 5 out of 24. So that is how we apply this. Remembering the word sum. Whenever you see it, it means add. And that is what we have done. We change it down to add and then solve that. Very easy, because we have been applying this one first. It's only trying to catch what we are supposed to do. Right. Let's take the next one. The next one. The next one, according to what we agreed, is difference. 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 What did we say difference stands for or implies? It means there is going to be a subtraction somewhere. Then certain times they'll give you that thing and allow you to make use of your brain. Find the difference between this and that. You must look for the bigger number, whether it came first or last. You must look for the bigger number. Place it first before the smaller one comes. Otherwise, you'll be having a negative. Now, let's take the example. Find the difference. Find the difference. Find the difference between what? Let us see. 4 3/8 and 3 11/12. Let's see. 2 numbers are given here. 4 3/8 mixed fraction, proper mixed fraction. 3 11/12 proper mixed fraction. Which of them is bigger? The first. So they have arranged this one properly for us. Suppose they wrote, find the difference between 3 11/12 and 4 3/8. Put the bigger number first before the smaller number. And then you do your subtraction. They have placed it very well for us. So this translates as 4 3/8 minus 3 11/12. As usual, we consider the whole numbers first. So this means 4 take away 3. After that, we consider the proper fractions, 3/8 and 11/12. Then we look at their denominators, 8 and 12, and give them a least common denominator. And the least common denominator there, luckily for us again, is 24. So we take 24. 24. Now, 8 will go into 24 3 times, but it must multiply its corresponding numerator, 3. Then 12 will go into 24 2 times, but it must multiply its corresponding numerator, 11. Then we go a step further in our simplification. 4 take away 3. That will give us just one whole number, 1. Then this other side will give us 9 take away 22. 9 is smaller than 22. So it means there's a problem. There's a problem. Mr. 1, please come and help Mr. 9 so that this thing can be solved. Mr. 1 says, no way until you tell me the transformation I will take. Tell me what shape will I take before coming. The shape is determined by the least common denominator. So Mr. 1 whole number now becomes 24 over 24 plus 9 minus 22 all over 24. You can see all of them are divided by 24. In other words, let's take this up again once more. So we shall be having now 24 plus 9 minus 22 all over 24. All over 24. Why? Because there is 24 here, there is 24 here. That is why we're saying all of them now are divided by this common number, 24. So, to make life very easy, don't start adding 24 and 9 before subtracting. You're putting much pressure on the small head. Look at 24 and 22, which is bigger. 24 is bigger than 22. Subtract 22 from 24 now. You have 2 remaining. After that, you say, okay, 2, my friend, 11 is there. Go and join Mr. 9 to produce 11. So finally, our answer is 11 all over 24. That is the way to get about difference when we see it, difference. You see, the problem is the transformation. Like in the first one, we did transformation when we were trying to subtract. Here again, we have done transformation. All right. So let's take the next one. Now we are moving into product. Find the product of what? 3 1/4 and 2 2/5. So we underline this product. What does that stand for? From what we explained earlier, what we are going to do today, we said that whenever we see product, it means that we are looking for the answer that we get from multiplication. Product implies something is multiplied or some things are multiplied. So, because we have and here, Mr. And must give way to this word, product. So this now becomes 3 1/4 and goes away, multiplied by 2 2/5. We said we can't multiply 3 by 2, then after that, 1/4 by 2/5 to put the answers together. Nowhere. We've got to change each of the fractions into improper fraction. The normal definition of a fraction is that it has numerator and denominator. So we want to change this to agree with that condition. Changing them to agree with the condition, this will give us 3 by 4, that is 12 plus 1, 13, all over 4, times. This is 5 by 2, which is 10, plus 2, 12, over 5. That's what we have. Then after having this, then we look at what we have and see, are there any numbers in the numerator that can easily go into some numbers in the denominator, or numbers in the denominator going into those in the numerator? Let's see. Can 5 divide 12? Nowhere. Can 5 divide 13? Nowhere. Okay? Let's come to Mr. 4. Can you divide 13? No, you must have a remainder. Can you divide 12? Yes. So we are now going to treat Mr. 4 and Mr. 12. So 4 here, 1. 4 there, 3. Is there any other thing that can go? We look, nothing. So we multiply out. 13 by 3 is 39. 1 by 5 is 5. No. You see, the fraction that they gave us was a mixed fraction. And we are getting an improper fraction. We have not arrived. So we go back to that stage where the fraction was. Going there, then this now becomes 5 into 39 will give us 7 solid times which is 35. And if you subtract 35 from 39, you'll be left with 4. You'll be left with 4 when 5 was dividing. So that's that. We know that you can solve. The problem is translating it from word problem into the mechanical way that you can handle it. So that is for products. Let's go to division, which is quotient. Division, which is quotient. All right. Once more, quotient is the answer you get from dividing one thing by another. A group of things by another. A group of things by another group. There is division involved. So let's see. Remember that we said that there are two things that confuse there. And what are they? A divided by, and B divided into. They are not the same. We have seen division there, divided, we have seen it, but they are not the same. So let's take example to illustrate that. Now I have 4.5 divided by 1/4. That's what they gave me. You see, this is the main owner of the problem, Mr. 4.5. You are the one that we are going to cut into pieces. And who is going to cut you? 1/4/5 is the one that cut you. So we start solving. So this now becomes 4.5 divided by 1/4/5. I know that once you're able to translate, you can easily solve. But let's solve for convenience sake. So this now becomes 4. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8 plus 1, 9. 9/2 divided by 5 multiplies 1 to be 5 plus 4, 9/5. You know, we talked about in division somersaulting, reciprocal. So this now becomes 9/2. If we change this to multiplication, this one must turn itself upside down. Then it becomes 5/9. 9. Then 5 divided by 2 will give us 2 whole number and a half. So this is this number divided by this. It's very easy to understand. Let's go to divided into. Divided into. We are going to use the same number to see whether we will have the same answer. Let's see whether we have the same answer. You have for B, 4.5 divided into 1/4. Now, who is going to divide here now? We have 4.5. We have 1/4/5. Onyegeke, who is the one that is dividing now? It is the first number that is dividing the second one, which is quite different from the other one when it is written by. When you have by, it's the second one that is dividing the first. When you have into, it's the first one that is dividing the second. Note, by and into, very important. So, this now becomes, it is this that is going to be divided by 4.5. You can see the positions have changed because of the wording. And if you cannot understand that particular wording, it becomes very difficult for you to carry on. All right, now this becomes 9/5 divided by 9/2. This is the place where some students perform magic. Immediately they see this, I say, very easy, 9 has gone out. 5 divided by 2. They may get it. Some of them will say 9 divided by 9, 1. 5 divided by 2, they say you cannot go. They say 2. No. Remember somersault. Very, very important. If you have not reached that, then do not conclude that you have done it. So change this to multiplication and somersault it. So that is 9. 9 goes with 9. Can you see that thing which I was saying? That some can start cancelling 9. Can you see how the 9 is cancelled out? Well, remember the definition of a fraction. The definition of a fraction is that it must have numerator, it must have denominator. So here, 1 times 2 is 2. At the denominator, 5 times 1 is 5. This is a stable fraction. And that is the final answer for this. Right. Having seen this, we shall refer ourselves to certain questions. Questions. We need to take this thing one by one. As I told you, fractions very wide. If we rush over it, I don't think we have achieved much. So we shall take it gradually until, you see, we have taken vulgar fraction. We have now gone into word problems. So that it is not the mechanical aspect that matters. If you're able to translate the words, we are finished with that. Once we are through, we can then come to the percentage and finally to the decimals. So, assignment. Samson. It appears I ask you many questions. I know that you like my asking you questions. There are 4 things that we have studied now. 4. Can you remind me? That's good. If I were to say clap for him, I will ask you to clap for him. That means he has been paying attention, those 4 things. Sum implies addition. Difference implies subtraction. Product implies multiplication. Quotient implies what? Division. That is what he said. But in division, there are 2 words that confuse. By and good. Into. All right, let's take some questions now for your assignment. All right, I'll give you your assignment from your textbook. No need writing it on the board. Turn to page 26 of your textbook, page 26. Write it down, page 26, exercise 4F. Have you written that? All right. Take the following numbers for your assignment. Page what did I call? Matter. Pay attention. If there's any confusion that you have, you raise your hand. What's your problem? The page. That is what I'm calling. Listen attentively. I'm saying page 26. 26. Page 26. Just write it on the board. Page 26. Exercise 4F. Exercise 4F, numbers 3 and 4, 3, 4, and 3, 4, and 8. 3, 4, 8. Numbers 3, 4, 8. That is not all, though. Let's go to another one, another page. That is not all. We are now on 4J. Exercise 4J. Page. We must put the pages so that you can follow. The page there is 29. Page 29. Numbers. Numbers, what are the numbers there? The numbers there are numbers 6 and 8. 6 and 8. Numbers 6 and 8. Let's see. How many assignments there? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just simple 5 problems. Answer them. Take time. Don't go to the answer at the back of the textbook. Don't go there. Make sure that you follow these steps that we have given. Then you submit your answers where you normally submit. Go there. And God be with you.